What's up, viewers, subscribers, and agents alike? This is your boy, Lord Enlightened Luciferian Prince, coming at y'all once again. Welcome. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for joining. Caveat: if indeed you happen to hear background noise as far as thunder, it's thundering outside. It's a thunderstorm. Scattered thunderstorms be here for the next few hours, so that's just pretty much why it seems a little bit darker than usual. But neither here nor there. Anywho, if you're watching this video around children, please remove them from your immediate vicinity, as my videos are not for children. Capiche? Capiche. If they're over the age of 18, fine with me. That's up to the parents' discretion. Younger than that, gotta go. This does not constitute legal advice. The sole purpose is for informational and educational purposes only. I say that in all my videos, not all from the beginning, but as time went on, had to curtail to a certain audience. Anyway, two of my favorite utensils. There you go. She got me. That's confirmation. So check this out. One of the two, pick what you will. Pen, paper. Yeah. Class is in session. It is what it is. Videos are not just for entertainment, people. It is what it is. The thunder got my ass too. Anywho, long story short, I said that in my last video I was going to do a history on the history of slavery, right? Now I know that when most people hear this, the first thing they do is jump to this notion, quote unquote, of chattel slavery, especially for melanated people who have broken free from the reins of the public education fool system, where they basically tried to make it seem as if we came over here on these boats, and they exaggerate the numbers, talking about millions came over here on these. Miss you with that shit. First off, I stand for defense of all my copper-colored autochthonous people, all my indigenous people. We've been here. Those who were considered chattel slavery were considered prisoners of war. All of the tribes of the different various tribes were already here. Copper-colored indigenous people. You're staring at one. So in defense of the education for the preservation of tomorrow's future, that public full system education talking about they came over here on ships was bullshit. That's confirmation. That's bullshit. We did not come over here on no boats. We were already here. For those who would like sources and doubt what I'm saying, who are cognitively dissonant, why don't you read a book called Before Columbus Came? Okay? Don't take my word for it. Reading is free. And most of those school books that we learned this shit from was controlled by Ghislaine Maxwell's father. But that's neither here nor there. That's bullshit. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. Trust me, I'll elaborate on that much later. That's not the point. The new slavery that I'm telling you about has been a slavery that did not include just a particular set of an ethnicity of people or tribe or origin. No. We're going to talk about a new form of slavery that you don't even know exists, but you're going to know before the end of this video cuts off. What is the definition of slavery? Let's talk about it. Slavery is a system where one person owns another person as property. The owner has total control over the worker's life, labor, and freedom. Enslaved people cannot quit, and they receive no fair pay. Now, for all those people who are out there in the YouTube universe and out there and online and so forth and so on, and that think that you're free, I'm going to show you that you're not. until you actually declare your freedom. See, going back to the whole chattel slavery thing, when they talk about the 13th Amendment, here's what the 13th Amendment actually says. And you have to read between the lines because slavery still exists in the United States. I know a lot of people say, well, that was 1865. No, the fuck it didn't. Slavery still exists in the United States, and I'm going to show you how. See, when you read something, you must read it for what it says, right? Read it in context, not out of, in context. Slavery still exists in the United States. Here it is. The 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution officially abolished slavery and involuntary servitude across the nation, except as a punishment for a crime, passed by Congress January 31st, 1865. Go figure. The year of emancipation, correct? No, people. The Emancipation Proclamation was nothing more than a proclamation. A proclamation is something that is declared publicly. It ain't law. Excuse me, for those who like to be politically correct. It isn't law. They said, quote, it was the first of the post-Civil War Reconstruction Amendments. So why all of a sudden, the same year that emancipation came along, they turned around and want to ratify the 13th Amendment? Because they wanted to change the framework. Okay? You had all these individuals that were on these plantations making all of this fiat, all of this wealth for these individuals that were in the South. And they were just, all of a sudden, they were free. So they were no longer slaves anymore. They were considered sharecroppers. This is where your 9-to-5 principle comes into now, people. The same system that was ratified January 31st, 1865 is the same shit that's working up here today. But notice what they said, except the person be convicted of a crime. So then you commit a crime, you get sentenced to prison, and you work for pennies on the dollar. But then they also said another thing, involuntary servitude. But let me show you how you volunteer as a slave. Let's get to it without further ado. Here we go. 3.0, A History of Slavery, Article 325, which is called Settlement Birth Certificate, also known as A History of Slavery. Excuse me, I didn't read the canon, pardon me. Canon 3347. A settlement certificate, also known as a birth certificate since 1837, is an official document issued to validly recorded poor, also known as paupers, granting them certain basic rights and entitlement to benefits in exchange for recognition of their status as being owned as property. Lawful slaves. Lawful slaves, also known as indentured servants and bondsmen. A settlement, therefore, is equivalent to a voluntary slave plantation. Didn't I tell you about that 9-to-5 model? This is the inception of it. But hold on, there's more. Canon 3348. Under King Henry VIII of England and his Venetian Magyar advisors, the first poor laws were promulgated around 1535, coinciding with the first official mandate requiring uniform record keeping by all Church of England parishes of births, deaths, and marriages. The poor were considered the responsibility of the church, including ensuring they had ample work and did not starve to death, as they were considered by default the property of the church. Canon 3349. Under Queen Elizabeth I of England, a set of measures were introduced which had the effect of accelerating the disenfranchisement of land peasants into landless paupers. Under the Erection of Cottages Act 1588, peasants required local parishes' permission to erect dwellings, whereas before the erection of a dwelling by land peasant on their lord's land was considered a right. As a result, the ranks of the landless poor or the paupers swelled. Canon 3350. Under Queen Elizabeth I of England, the laws concerning the administration and care of the poor were refined through the Poor Law 1601, which introduced a basic set of rights for the poor, as well as the introduction of 2 overseers of the poor, also known as a guardian, in each parish elected at Easter and funded through the first levy, which is tax, through local rates, now called council taxes, on property owning ratepayers. Canon 3351. Under Charles II of England, the concept of settlements as plantations of working poor controlled by the Church of England was further refined through the Settlement Act of 1662. Now, mind you, watch this. It's a magical number. I want you to pay close attention to it. In the Poor Relief Act, 1662, the number I was telling you about refers exactly to the first Sesta KV Act the following years. Hold on. If a person, no one was, I'm going ahead of myself. Included for the first time the issuance of settlement certificates equivalent to birth certificate, passport, and Social Security, rolled into one document. A child's birthplace was the place of settlement, unless its mother had a settlement certificate from some other parish stating that the unborn child was included on the certificate. However, from the age of 7 upwards, the child could have been apprenticed and gained a settlement for itself through what is called indentured service or voluntary slavery. Also, the child could have obtained a settlement for itself by service by the time it was 16. Canon 3352. Under the reforms of the Settlement Act 1662 and Poor Relief Act 1662, no one was allowed to move from town to town without appropriate settlement certificate. If a person entered a parish into which he or she did not have official settlement and seemed likely to become chargeable to the new parish, then an examination would be made by the justices or parish overseers. From this examination oath, the judges would determine if that person had the means to sustain himself. The results of the examination were documented in an examination paper. As a result of the examination, the intruder would then be either allowed to stay or would be removed by means of what was known as a removal order, the origin of the modern equivalent of an eviction and removal notice, when the sheriff removes people from their home. Canon 3353. According to the various settlement acts of the 17th century onwards until the introduction of birth certificates, the issue of a settlement certificate was considered a privilege, not a right. If a peasant wanted to move, the home parish should choose to issue a settlement certificate, which then effectively became an indemnity insurance to the new parish. If the pauper was unable to earn a living, a settlement certificate was only valid if it bore the seals of the overseers of both parishes and their local justices and was not transferable. This is the same model of modern passports for citizens listed as or P. I'm sorry, it looked like it squinted. Paupers used today. So, if your passport indeed has the word P on it, you are considered a serf, a slave, a pauper, or otherwise a vagabond, a nobody. Examine your passports, people. So I tell you, it's the way you fill it out. It's all the same thing. What they're describing here from that system in 1662 is the equivalency of, let's just say, for instance, you want to go from the United States to Canada. Okay? This is a whole new jurisdiction. They ask you at the border, how do you plan on providing for yourself? What are you here for? What are you doing? They really want to know how you going to provide for yourself while you're here. It's the same fucking thing. From 1662 to 2026, you do the math. Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. Only the efficiency of how it, because the population has grown so much, that's the only thing that's changed. The efficiency of the usage of it. It's the same shit. You want to go from here to there, you need a passport. It's the same thing. Why do you think you have to give your birth certificate to the Department of State in order for them to officiate a passport. It's the same shit. But remember, I'm going to do another video on your passport is your currency. A lot of people, the reason why I had to redo the video is because a lot of people misconstrued what the fuck I was saying. And it totally went over their head. So I had to break it down again. So just stay tuned in the future for another video called Your Passport is Your Currency Remastered. Stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to get over that P. All right? Now, going back to just what I was saying, Canon 3354. Due to the increase in the number of poor, as I was saying, in 1723, a new law was passed called the Workhouse Test Act, 1723, in which those who wished to claim benefits and relief as poor now had to enter a workhouse, being essentially a prison for men, women, and children to perform some set of work. To ensure that all poor were accounted for and could be identified, new laws were introduced to force the paupers to wear a P on their right shoulders as a mark of their status. This is both the origin of the P, still placed on the mark of modern-day passports and other official documents, and the P worn by prisoners from the 20th century. Canon 3355. Beginning in 1773 with the Enclosure Act 1773, followed by the Enclosure Consolidation Act of 1801, English Parliament effectively became privatized. Massive amounts of common land for the benefit of a few, causing huge numbers of land peasants to become landless paupers, and therefore in need of parish assistance. The Enclosure Act are the foundation of land title as it is known today. Canon 3356. Because of the deliberate legal theft of land under the Parliamentary Enclosure Act of the late 18th century and early 19th century, the number of paupers dramatically increased, as I said earlier. So, this led to the most awful and cruel laws being introduced to deliver to an elite few. The slave labor force needed, that's my Amazon package, for the Industrial Revolution through the Poor Law Amendment Act 1834, which effectively stated that the poor could not receive any benefit unless they were constantly employed. Pause. If you want to get food stamps today, don't they tell you that you have to either do one or two things? Most people would say that you either have to attend a class or work part-time. There's nothing different, people. There's nothing fucking different. You want to receive insurance or Medicaid or whatever, you got to pay taxes on the shit. Is it really free? No. It's the same damn thing, people. I want y'all to understand there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to this stuff. There's nothing new. It says, which effectively stated that the poor could not receive any benefit unless they were constantly employed in a workhouse prison. Thus, despite international treaties against slavery, the very worst slavery being wage slavery or lawful slavery was born, whereby men, women, and children lived in terrible conditions and were worked to death. Canon 3357, beginning in 1834, a number of historic changes were introduced to record-keeping births, deaths, marriages, and the issuance of documents and the management of the poor. In 1834, British Parliament introduced the Poor Law Amendment Act 1834, which reorganized Church of England parishes into unions, which would then be responsible for the poor in their area, and administered by a board of poor law guardians, also known as the Board of Guardians. The clerks of magistrates' courts still hold the power of a clerk of the Board of Guardians, and Section 2, 1835, the Municipal Corporations Act of 1835, was introduced, which effectively standardized the corporate model for towns and boroughs, including making the municipality with elected officials responsible for data collection and service administration. And Section 3, in 1836, the Births and Death Registration Act was introduced, for which it the first time created the General Register Office and requirement for uniform records of births. deaths, and marriages across the empire by municipal councils and union of parishes. Thus, on July 1st, 1837, the birth certificate was formed as a successor of settlement certificate for all paupers disenfranchised of their land, birthright to be considered lawful voluntary slaves, with benefits provided by the local parish region underwritten by the Society of Lords, as it still is today. Canon 3358. Beginning from 1871, future historic changes in the administration of vital statistics such as birth certificates and death certificates with the introduction of health districts or sanitary districts, the Local Government Act of 1871, also the same year of the DC Organic Act, Public Health Act 1872, and Public Act 1875 created a system of districts called sanitary districts governed by a sanitary authority responsible for various public health matters, including mental health, legally known as sanity. Two types of sanitary districts were created by the urban and rural. While being sanitary districts were abolished in 1894 with the Local Government Act of 1894, the administration of the poor is still maintained part under the concept of the district health boards of guardians, including magistrates and other justices of the peace, i.e., your magistrates. Canon 3359 since 1990. See? Since 1990. So from 1871 up to 1990, it's the same thing that's been happening. But hold on, I'm putting the cart before the horse. Under the United Nations and World Health Organization, also known as WHO, by the Convention of the Rights of the Child, the system of issuing birth certificates as proof of a man or woman being a permanent member of the underclass has become an international system. Canon 3360, one fundamental flaw that remains within the settlement birth certificate system for the Roman cult and its agents remain the fact that a settlement certificate is proof that a man or woman must have been born on the land for the certificate to have effect, i.e. the 14th Amendment. Regardless of convoluted subsequent presumptions of what the certificate actually represents, if a man or woman was not born on the land somewhere, a certificate could not be issued. Therefore, any rejection or return of a birth certificate serves as a perfected evidence that a man or woman born on the land is support to any affidavit of truth concerning their immutable rights from the divine creator. Canon 3361, as a settlement certificate and later birth certificates are solely purposely designed to disenfranchise men and women from their rightful inheritance through voluntary enslavement and admission to being paupers. The system of birth certificates is wholly without legitimacy, a global system of organized fraud and crime, and without lawful effect. That's in less than 24 minutes. You're not free, people. Did you not hear what I just read? If you want benefits and privileges, you have to walk around with a pauper certificate. But see, here's the catch-22. I always like to go to my sources. Got to do it. Got to do it. Because if you don't understand this, the severity of this, I'll read it to you. Attributed by, if not to his, it is appropriate Edward Mandell House, sent by the powers that rule democracy, commercial government form, England, work with and control all presidents from Woodrow Wilson through Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in establishing that all the American people are reaping by slavery, had this private meeting with Woodrow Wilson in 1913 through 1921 and stated, very soon every American will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as a chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer being able to work and earn a living. They will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever. By operation of the law merchant under the scheme of secure transactions, Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivering the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent, forever to remain economic slaves to taxation secured by their pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given a commercial value designed to make us a profit, and they will be none the wiser. For if one man in a million could ever figure out our plans, and if by accident one or two should figure it out, we shall have in our arsenal plausible deniability. After all, this is the only logical way to fund government, by floating liens and debt to the registrants in the form of benefits and privileges. This will inevitably reap to us huge benefits beyond our wildest expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud, which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss we may incur, and in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant. However, begrudgingly, the people will become helpless and without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of the president of our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America. I didn't write that. That comes from a book called The Fruits of a Poisonous Tree. I suggest you get a copy. You're not free, people. You're not. Unless you take the proper steps to free yourself. Now do y'all see why they fight so hard against people who speak against this? Because they don't want you to ever understand that you're a fucking slave. I don't care if you're white, I don't care if you colors, all that shit, all that don't matter. If you are not a part of the 1%, give a fuck if you make 6 figures, 5, 4, or 3. It don't matter. If you are not in charge of your estate, you're a pauper. If you are not, you, in your sovereign capacity, you're a pauper. A citizen is just a nice way to say you're a poor person. That's why y'all turn around. I'm a law-abiding citizen. Yeah, they know who the fuck you are. So I hope this humbles a lot of people who thought that they was fucking free. You're not. Go to the local fish hole and try to go ahead and get too many fish. Here come the game warden. Mind you, the creator gave this all to us all for free. They give you a ticket for catching a fish that's probably an inch too short or too long. What the fuck? In the Old West, you didn't need a license to ride a horse. Oops. Because if we can make it licensed, we can make money off of it. And the people being ignorant of how it works, we can charge them. Oh, we could charge you for your concealed to carry. Even though Second Amendment says you can keep and bear arms. The fuck? No, because if it doesn't make money for those districts, then it's illegal. Notice the word illegal. That means you didn't have permission from some sort of authority, pretended. And then you have to understand the definition of what color of law means. Color of law means you're acting like the law. This is how they operate. Don't take my word for it. Get a Black's Law dictionary and look this shit up yourself. Look up color of law. Anytime you go into that courtroom, it's not a courtroom. It's a debtor's courtroom. Until you stand the fuck up and let these people know who you are, you will be treated like a slave. This goes for everybody. I don't give a fuck how you think, whatever in your fucking imagination, how you think you see this world. You ain't free until you declare it. See, I know a lot of people fear monger. I'm not fear mongering. I'm letting you know what the fuck the truth is. Until you stand up, properly correct the record for your sake and your children's sake, if you have those, you don't even own your children. You talk about you paid off the house. No, you didn't. You think you did. See, that's why they keep getting away with it, because you keep believing in an illusion. You paid for your car. Then why the fuck these people still looking for it? When you registered your car with the state, You know what a registry is? That means to record formally, exactly, and to the like to a recording authority. I spoke too fast. Recording authority. You told the state, this is y'all's. Every time you renew your tag, you're renewing their property. Did you not know that? See, it's time to stop playing. Y'all need to understand this is what it is. In this country, you are not free until you declare yourself to be so. That's why they fight against you at every chance they get. They don't want you filing certain documents and all that because you fucked their program up. I'm not here to try to lead no resistance. I'm not here to try to convince nobody of anything. I'm going by historical precedent and definitions. Exactly how it went from time immemorial up until the present. That's the reality. It's not no resistance. This is just common sense. It should be, but it's not. Sounds foreign to a lot of people. Freedom is when you stand up for who you are. Peaceful rebellion. You ain't got to go out here and cause anarchy. That shit ain't gonna do nothing. The silent rebellion, the silent peaceful rebellion is correcting the record. Removing yourself from pauper to creditor status. That's what I've been teaching y'all all these years. Some people just looked at it as education. Some people dropped out the race. It doesn't work. It ain't for you. To whom much is given, much is required. So I'm sorry for them, those who missed out. But the reason why I say what I'm saying is because I'm a man that reads, and this is exactly what they're doing to you. If you let them. But it ain't gonna fall for everybody. It's not gonna happen for everybody. I'm not naive. But if you, the person watching this video, within yourself, know that the Creator runs all of this. Don't fear shit. The Supreme, the Ancient of Days runs this. The evil is just the administrators of it. But you have to know what side you're on in order for that to resonate true with you. And if you don't, I'm sorry for you. Not me. See, when you step up and you let people know who you are, they leave you alone. They don't bother you. I know a lot of people make it seem it's not blowing no whistle or nothing. It's just it's you can read this stuff. But no, most of y'all spend y'all money on dumbass shit. Concert tickets, subscriptions. Y'all supposed to be buying literature. Y'all want to entertain yourselves. It ain't time to be entertained. It's time to learn. If you ain't trying to learn, cut my fucking video off and act like I ain't say shit. But if you want to learn, strap the fuck up and get right, man. That's just the Marine in me. I'm just going to keep it real. If you don't want to learn, cut it off. That's why I tell people, when you email me, serious inquiries only. When I say serious, that means I'm ready. If you ain't ready, don't email me. Don't. Because I'm telling you, when you put these motherfucking glasses on, you'll never be the same. Email in the video description and in the comment section below. I have nothing else to say. Strap up. Get right. Peace, light, love. You know what it is. Agents, man, fuck you, man. 10-4. I'm out.